What's up, everybody? It's the Welcome to the Show podcast.
Live
CT
stream.
live
Live stream.
stream.
We're
I
out here,
don't.
man.
I don't know. This isn't the quick hit. This is the full episode. We're gonna take some deep dives. MLB, NBA, NFL, everything you need to know in the world of sports during the quarantine, during COVID-19. CT, dime a ver.
What's going on, Manny? It's good to be back at our fully scheduled, hour-long, jam-packed,
Mm-hmm.
all relevant information.
Mm-hmm.
No dead air on this show.
Mm-hmm.
Every word
Mm.
counts for something.
Yes.
Back to you.
Back to me. Okay. I'm just going to get right to it, man. Headlines. I'm going to start with the NFL and work my way back so that you can tie in your headline and it'll all just be amazing or something. Ready?
That's for sure.
The New England Patriots have revealed a new uniform. Are they moving on or is this a way to move on from Tom Brady? You're going to just fucking burn everything and start anew? The Giants are scouting Oregon quarterback Herbert Hand, according to Ian Rappaport. Joe Judge has FaceTimed with the quarterback. I don't understand why the fuck they're looking at quarterbacks when you have Danny Dimes right there. You're going to use up another pick on a quarterback. I don't know if you have any takes on this, CT.
Well,
it's just confusing.
What did you think of Danny Dimes from what you saw last year?
I thought he was decent for his first go at it. I it was much better than what Eli Manning did in 2004 when he first arrived. So I think he threw 24 TDs or something. He didn't throw that many interceptions. He did toward the end, but I see some promise in the kid.
What's the guy's name? Joe Judge, right?
Joe Judge, yeah.
Back when the world was a simpler place,
yes,
around December, around there, or whenever he became the official head coach, I think his first press conference was he hadn't really seen much tape on Danny Dimes.
Mm-hmm.
Why am I calling him Danny Dimes? What's his real name?
Daniel Jones, bro.
Daniel Jones? It's his real name? Like this whole time? It's not like Daniel Baker or something?
No,
like really?
Nope. Daniel
All right.
Jones.
Anyways, I think like in his first press conference, he said that he hadn't really seen much tape on Daniel Jones, and that which it has to be. But if you're coming in as the head coach of the Giants, you better know something about the roster.
He still, to this day, will not utter any of the players' names in interviews.
He won't. It's like he wants to make it seem like nobody's job is safe.
It's so stupid. Saquon Barkley is your running back. Just fucking, that's it.
Yeah.
Like, it is what it is. Accept it.
And you might want to, maybe you're trying to light a fire on someone's ass, like so they can play like their job is on the line, but not when you draft a quarterback. What was it, 6th?
Mm-hmm.
Not when it's your franchise quarterback, man. Like you better.
What pick do the Giants have this year? I think they have the 4th pick, don't they? They're up there again. You're gonna use up that pick on a quarterback. I don't buy it. I think it's a game. I think it's like you said, it's trying to light up a fire under your players' asses. But just coach. Just go out there and coach. You coach your game properly. You have the talent to win some games with this Giants team. You know.
That's true.
I don't know. My other headline. Let's move on to some baseball headlines. Japan has delayed the start of its season again. They had already decided that they were going to cut all interleague games throughout the season, which was going to shorten the amount of games that the league plays. Now they're delaying the season once again altogether, and now there's no set start time. The CPBL has started play though, and if you want to watch Taiwan or Chinese, I know that Taiwan is a province in China, but they're their own people. I don't know, whatever. If you want to watch their games, you can go on IG at WT the Show, and I have it in there. But they're airing all the Rakuten Monkeys games on, I think it's 11 Sports TW, at 11 Sports TW on Twitter. So you could check that out if you want some baseball. Louisville Slugger closes its factory, furloughing its staff for the time being. And finally, Marlins CEO Derek Jeter, the Cap, has decided he will not pay himself this season.
Damn, man.
CT, what you got?
Must be tough for Jeter, man.
It's hard out there for a pimp, dog.
I want to bring
Did
up
you just give
another.
me an eye roll?
No. I'm sorry. I'm trying to make sure I'm looking at the camera, which is actually like a couple inches above, and that I'm not trying to cross paths with this beautiful lighting here that's hiding all my pimples in the face. And I'm also trying to bring up a couple stats. So, uh, jumping on that Jeter highlight, another headline associated to Jeter made made the news waves across the weekend. So you remember Denard Span, right?
Sure do.
Good guy.
He was a decent player.
He had a pretty good career. You know,
He
pretty.
played for the. I remember him in the D-backs for some reason, but I know he moved around, right?
We got Twins, Nationals, Giants, Rays, and Seattle. No
Wow,
D-backs.
no D-backs. Wow, no D-backs. Why do I
Career.
remember Denard Span in the D-backs?
Let's see here. Career high in home runs, since that's all that matters these days, is 12
Nice.
at the
Led
age of
the
30.
league in
Anyway,
triples. Led the league in triples in 2013 with 11.
led the league in hits in 2014 with 184. So, anyways, Denard Span tweeted out something that I kind of understood where he was coming from, but people blew it out of proportion. And the tweet goes like this, quote, "In today's game, Derek Jeter will have a minor league contract at age 32. And what I think he's saying, which I kind of agree with, is that it was like the whole Dallas Keuchel thing. Like Dallas Keuchel couldn't get a contract. He had to hold out like months into the season. Same thing with Craig Kimbrell. You know, like I think that the owners are getting smarter in how they give out these contracts, and younger is always better. Younger is always in control. So I kind of understand what he was getting at. I don't think he was taking any shots at Jeter, even though the first article that I see when I try to search up this tweet was that a former MLB player seriously disrespects Derek Jeter. I didn't really take it like that. I don't know if you did.
I guess I have to hear the context in which he's saying it. I don't want to hold someone to. I don't know. I don't even know what the phrase I'm trying to look for is, but I'm pretty sure Denard Span. I'm pretty sure Denard Span wasn't looking at Derek Jeter's baseball reference page like I am right now when he made that statement, because at age 32 he had, I think, that almost his career high in batting average of 343. He had a 417 on base and a 900 slugging, which the 900 slugging is his career high. And not slugging, 900 OPS is his career high. No, it's not. 1999 was, but it was the second biggest OPS. At the same time, I understand what he's saying. His age, compared to his defensive abilities, maybe a GM wouldn't be so inclined to give him such a big contract like the Yankees might have at the time. But after his age 32 season, he still had 2 or 3 more years of, A+ play. So I don't agree with Denard Span, but I understand where he's coming from. I think I understand what he's trying to say. I don't think he's saying that it's justified. I think he's saying that that's how the game is now.
Yeah, my whole thing was that what I took away from it was that as great as Derek Jeter was, and his average, his totals, or his average and totals for those up until his 32nd season, 317 batting average, 388 OPS, OBP, sorry, 852 OPS. I'll sign up for that for a shortstop with averages of 15 home runs a year. Even in today's game, could probably be 20.
MVP runner-up in his age 32 season, highest he's ever gotten in MVP voting.
I'll sign up for that. But what I think he's saying is that, yeah, like today's game. That's what I took away from it. I don't think he was starting to start up a, is Jeter even that good conversation type of thing, because I think none of those players, except unless you signed a ridiculously expensive contract like Albert Pujols, I don't think any great player is safe all through their careers like they used to be back in the day, which little by little I'm going to start revealing to our listeners that I believe that the MLB should seriously consider figuring out a way to monitor steroids and letting players take it for health reasons, to heal.
Me too. I agree.
Stay on the field.
I've said it before, man. Have a physician in the clubhouse, administer it safely, and let it be transparent. It could be like the IL. Aaron Judge is on the IL for an oblique. You could say Aaron Judge is taking I don't know what the fuck, some steroid to help heal his whatever, or so that he can remain on the field. Fuck it, just make it transparent. Let people know what these guys are doing.
Yep.
Violate the HIPAA laws. Fuck it.
All right.
It's a new world, bro. Anything goes.
I wouldn't go that far, but
I'm
all
sorry.
right.
Don't violate the HIPAA laws. You're right. But let us know. All right. Are we ready?
Yes.
Okay. Let's move on to the topics. So we have 3 topics on the docket. We have MLB. The Arizona plan has received some backlash. In the NFL, we're going to go through the draft. And in the NBA, we want to talk about the docuseries that debuted last night, The Last Dance, the Chicago Bulls' last championship run back in 97, 98. But let's start with MLB. So the coronavirus ain't going nowhere, CT. I'm sick and tired of talking about it. I'm sick and tired of living this way. This morning, I listened to a podcast, which I had vowed I wouldn't listen to anymore. And then I fell into a rabbit hole, turned it on, and there he was. I'm Michael Barbaro. This is The Daily.
Hi,
New York Times podcast.
I'm Michael Barbaro. I am under your bed right now with a knife.
And he had on a pandemic expert or whatever, who he had on about a month or 2 ago before the COVID pandemic happened, and he had raised the flags then that this is more serious than what the government is taking it, and then this all happened. Now he's talking about like what are things going to look like moving forward, and pretty much he put a damper on everything for me, because he's saying that the fastest a vaccine has ever become available took 4 years from start to finish. He also said that he called it a dance. We're going to be doing this dance with this COVID-19 for a while. So be prepared for that we're going to be social distancing and then easing restrictions and then distancing again, then easing restrictions and then distancing again. Like, it's just going to be continuous over and over and over again. Hopefully that doesn't happen. But the point that I'm trying to make is that MLB is trying its hardest to try to put games out there. And this weekend, Ken Rosenthal was on MLB Network, and he revealed that MLB believes that the best chance for us to have baseball again is under the Arizona plan. And we've had a few players that are kind of shitting on it. First, you had Zach Wheeler talk about how he doesn't want to miss the birth of his child, and that if this happens, that he will be quarantined, and he doesn't care if he misses games because he wants to be there for his kid. Then you have Mike Trout make a similar sentiment. He didn't say that he would. He wasn't so blunt like Zach Wheeler was, but it was pretty much the same comments. And now Clayton Kershaw says this, quote, "We all want to play baseball. I get that. I want to play baseball too. But there's something about being in the big leagues, and you can't compromise that. Playing in spring training stadiums and quarantining for months without your family and certain things like that, I don't think that's doable. If you're talking about doing it for 4 or 5 months, you just lose the product on the field because guys aren't in their natural element. We're all ready to take drastic measures to make this season happen, but there's also certain things that will affect the product on the field, and that's what you have to be careful about." So now Clayton Kershaw doesn't think this is doable either. So it seems like the only hope that we have to have baseball this season isn't really being embraced by the players. And I don't know, CT. I'm starting to get a feeling that we're not gonna have baseball. I'm starting to accept the fact that we're probably not gonna have any sports at all this year.
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna have baseball. And also bringing up the Zach Wheeler thing from the last episode that we recorded, I made some comments about Zach Wheeler needing to man up and play in the sport that he signed a contract to play, a child's game, whatever. And I still believe all that stuff that I said, but I'm probably going to tone it down when I talk about stuff like that, because I realized watching The Last Dance last night, I don't want to jump ahead, but watching The Last Dance last night, Jerry Krause, however you pronounce his name, did things that I'm pretty much doing on the show, which is like speaking my free opinion, which I'm not going to stop doing, by the way. I'm just going to stop being so aggressive on that side. I I don't think Zach Wheeler is wrong for choosing to go watch the birth of his child or being there for his wife. It's just not how I would handle it. Just want to apologize for that. Don't want to alienate nobody. But yeah, I think you're right, man. We're not gonna get any baseball this season. I'm more like 70% agreeing that we're not gonna get baseball versus 30% that they figure out a way to monitor everyone before and after the game and get a real control of it. And I don't think that's gonna happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think until there's testing available, widespread tests, I can't see how this is gonna work. I think you almost have to test if you want to have normal baseball without fans in the stands. Clearly, you're gonna have to test players probably before every single game, unless
Yep.
you're gonna do contact tracing, which California's talking about and stuff, and I think Korea is doing it where they have apps where you can see where people have been so that you know. But we might be getting into a violating my privacy issue at that point, because I remember after 9/11 we went above and beyond to try to prevent a terrorist attack from ever happening again, and now we're in a situation where basically you need to put a VPN on your computer because you're not sure who's fucking watching, right? Excuse my
Yeah.
language. Child protection is on now. No more kids can watch this. I just eliminated half the audience. Sorry, man. Um, um, but do we want to get into that situation now? Do we want to move the goalpost further now and allow the government to I know that it's for our own safety and we want to get back to normal, but are we willing to sacrifice so much to live normally again, or are we willing to just take this on and fight it and see it through and come out of this hopefully a better human race? You know what I mean? What do you
I,
think?
I don't think the world can go on like this. I think eventually the government's going to have to say something like, if you're above a certain age or if you have a pre-existing condition with your lungs or something serious where your immune system is weak, they're going to have to figure out a way to get these people money if they need it to pay bills and stay alive and eat. But for the rest of us, like, I'm not the healthiest guy in the world, but I'm of the belief that I will be able to beat the virus if I got it. I know a cousin of mine has the virus. He's not experiencing any symptoms. That's
Mm-hmm.
just a case. That's a case that he's just not experiencing any symptoms, but he has the virus. The issue is he can give that to someone with a pre-existing condition if he just goes
Right.
about his day as normal. I think that if we all need to do our part and stay as clean as possible and still practice social distancing, but when it comes to work and when it comes to making money, we got to figure out a way to get this back on track. And I think at the end of the day, that's what's going to happen. That before this is all safe, we're going to be back to working somehow, is how I see it playing out.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
again, widespread testing, we need to see who has it, who doesn't have it, who's immune, who's not immune. And then you could do something to the effect of contagion, where they had wristbands and they had to get scanned before you travel anywhere. Like, again, it's
Well, see,
taking drastic measures, but I don't know. Like maybe
traveling,
I go get tested and I have the antibodies, so I get one of these wristbands with a scanner on it, and
yeah,
I can show my employer I have the antibodies, I'm immune, and they can let me go into work or whatever.
yeah,
It kind of sucks. It's like you're creating a class of people who have the virus versus the people who don't have the virus. But I feel like that's the only way we're gonna get back to normal society at this point.
yep.
Um, so I don't know. This shit is fucking crazy. I just can't believe every day I wake up and I can't believe that we're living in this existence. It's almost like a nightmare in a way. Not to get too dark, but this is fucking nuts, man. This is crazy.
I know. And is it possible that we're just like getting bored of it at this point too? I know it's messed up to say, but it's like in 2020, it's like it's not even doing it for us anymore. Like we need this to eradicate itself. We need answers.
Fuck.
Like
And
can't
it's a
take it
new
no more.
virus. It's a new virus. So eventually, doctors are gonna figure out treatments. They're gonna figure out ways to. That's the other thing. That's the other thing I had to tell myself after I listened to that podcast. Yeah, it took 4 years. The record is 4 years to get a vaccine from start to finish. Um, but were were treatments available during that time? Doctors are already trying to figure out ways to remedy the situation, make things better. We don't have enough data to understand who necessarily it's impacting. We have some data, but not enough. But eventually, will we get to a point where we'll be able to identify which population is for sure at risk and which population is for sure not at risk, and be able to open things up that way? We have no idea. It's just living in this limbo right now, not knowing where we're going. It's kind of frustrating, but it's beyond anybody's control.
Yep.
And I guess for me as an American, what I'm most frustrated with is the whole testing thing. Like, I don't know why that's become such an issue here. It should be like, if South Korea can figure out how to test their population, if Germany, whatever other countries are figuring this shit out, why can't we? Like, come on, guys. It's America. These colors don't run. Kyle Larson.
Kyle Larson.
Don't that. All
Let's
right.
go there.
Shall we move on, or do you have anything baseball related you want to?
I just miss. I miss baseball, man. I had a baseball with me that I was gonna point. There we go. I was just gonna point this to the camera and use this as our like thumbnail clickbait.
Yeah, man.
That's it. That's all I gotta say, man. I miss it. Got my glove on.
I moved my baseball over here. This is a Mariano Rivera signed baseball. The GOAT.
This baseball has hit the pavement a couple times. You can see you can see like the chipping of the cowhide right there. Nothing really special about this, except it feels really good in my hand.
It's a baseball, man. It's special in its own right. I'm about to buy a wiffle ball and bat and play with my wife in the backyard. Like, listen, woman, you're gonna have to play with me. Sorry.
I'm on the verge of building. Like, I feel like building a cage, like a semi cage that you could like lay out and just hit into like soft toss.
Yeah.
That involves going to Home Depot and
all right, NFL talk.
Together. All right, let's get into it.
All right, so the NFL is going to hold its draft officially this Thursday. I wanted to go through what it was going to look like, and then as questions, if you have any questions or anything, let's bring it up, man. Let's bring this shit up and have Roger Goodell on the horn answer these questions. Just kidding. All right. So why is the NFL doing the draft now? Is basically there's no indication as to when this shit is going to end. So why not just do it now? Have teams be ready. And not only that, the NFL has a opportunity here to capture an incredibly large audience, as if they needed any more help. I know that when The Last Dance, which we're going to talk about next, came out last night, I couldn't wait. Like, this entire weekend, that's all I was thinking about was Sunday, 9:00. To the point where my wife sat across from me. She must not have like really understood how much I've been looking forward to this, and she kept talking, and she could see the annoyance in my face. Like,
yeah,
I was like, "Do you want me to stop talking?" And I don't want to be rude. I was like, "Oh, if you want, I can pause it and wait." And then I was, fuck, man, I just want to watch this goddamn show. Anyway,
yeah.
So why not now? All right, how is it going to work? Everybody, even Goodell, is going to be working from home. The NFL assured that all 32 teams have this point person who has a secure internet connection, and that there's an IT specialist in every one of those people's homes. They're going to be connected via video conference, which is provided by Microsoft. Zoom is owned by Microsoft, right?
Of course.
Okay, so maybe it's like a Zoom call or something.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were saying like, yeah, of course, Microsoft owns Zoom. I don't really know, but probably, yeah.
I think they do. I'm not sure, but I think they do.
Okay.
Question about that. I know that there's been a lot of Zoom bombing and shit. Where have you heard about this?
Yeah, where people take over the Zoom stream or something and play porn
been, like,
or something.
Classes that do Zoom, and apparently somebody will Zoom bomb and play like porn.
Yeah.
Like for kids and shit.
So funny.
I barely ever watch the NFL draft. I might watch it just in case that happens. How are picks made? They're going to be made via an internet connection. So basically, I don't know if it's like an email or if there's going to be some sort of buttons or something that you could press, and that's going to tell you what picks the teams are making. If that system doesn't work, then there's going to be phone calls, but there will be no extra time provided for each pick. At the same time, if there is a problem, the commissioner can stop the clock, whereas in the past, the clock never gets stopped and a team can jump ahead. And I think that happened like in 2003 or something like that. Microsoft is working, here we go, working with the NFL to prevent hacking. So I'm guessing this video conference call is by Microsoft.
Hmm.
Please, God, let some hacker get through there. Event will be broadcast on ESPN and the NFL Network. And some players, I'm not sure how they're going to decide this. Maybe the ones that they're predicting are going to go in the first round, they're going to be sent video equipment too because they're going to be interviewed in some sort of FaceTime situation. So that's pretty much it. It's going to start April 23rd, I think 8 or 9 o'clock at night. It's going to be on ESPN and NFL Network. And if I'm not mistaken, some of it's going to be aired on ABC as well. CT, what do you think about this whole thing? Drafting from home, all of that.
I think it's going to be really awkward. And at the beginning, it's probably not going to go as smoothly as they hoped.
Mm-hmm.
And then it will start picking up. But I'm excited to watch the draft. I'll take what I can get at this point. Like you mentioned before, The Last Dance. Going into the weekend, I wasn't like, foaming at the mouth, like waiting for Sunday. But when the time came, like it was like 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, I just made sure like I didn't get into something that was going to take me more than 10 minutes because I didn't want to miss it. Even though I know I could watch it the next day and everything, I didn't want to miss it. So I will be watching the draft. I think that one of my friends made a good point about the draft that you might see a lot of curveballs throughout the picks because they're not going to be going as they usually would, going for maybe the guy with the most potential, maybe the guy that killed it at the combine, but didn't have like a solid base of a college career. Those guys might not be getting drafted as high as usual because there might not be a preseason or, practice to really work them out and get them familiar with like the system. So you might see people go for guys that are more like a safe pick in the beginning than going for like the just most freakish athlete on the board that still hasn't been polished to be like an NFL player. So I think that's pretty interesting. I'm upset that the Bills, even though they got Stephon Diggs, it required giving up our first round pick this year. So there's really not much for me to watch because I don't even think they're picking in the second round. That's how lopsided that trade was, I think. So I don't have much to watch, but I'll definitely be paying attention to the first 10 to 15. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I remember, I think before they decided to do it virtually, it was going to be a whole thing where they were like brought on stage by boat. By boat. It was like there was going to be like a platform on water, and they were going to be like brought there via boat.
Oh, before this all happened.
That was the original stage. Like it was this.
That's so Vegas, man. My God.
It is, right? And I just remember thinking like that was going to be so awkward.
Right?
Because the draft itself sometimes is awkward. Like Roger Goodell getting booed, like all this stuff. So it's like,
yeah,
I didn't see that working. It would have been interesting to see, but yeah, I'm excited for the draft.
As for the Giants, which is my team, we have the number 4 pick, as I mentioned in the headlines. It's looking like they're really scouting this quarterback, which I kind of don't understand.
Who is it, by the way?
His name is, ready for this name? This is a pretty classic name, man. Herbert Hand.
Herbert Hand. He must be like a giant, like 6'6" or something.
I don't know, man. Herbert Hand. So the Giants will have a judge and a hand. But I'm not going to pretend, like I was saying before, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know so much about the draft or the NFL. I follow my Giants, but they've been irrelevant for a few years, so watch at your will. I will watch the NFL draft, A, because I want to see if somebody's going to hack into this thing and we get to see some titties on live TV. And B, no, I'm just kidding. And B, it'll be interesting to see how they're going to pull this through. I think there's a lot of creativity. If nothing else, the COVID-19 has spurred on a lot of creativity on behalf of a lot of people. Last week, SNL did an episode from home, and I thought it was phenomenal. I thought it was probably one of the best episodes of the year, if not the last couple years. And that's cool to see. I think people coming together to make something work like this. If only there could be baseball played with social distancing.
Seriously, any chance that you meant Justin Herbert and not Herbert Hand?
I'm pretty sure it's Herbert Hand.
I don't see a Herbert Hand here, but I've heard of Justin Herbert.
I see Herbert Hand is a senior scientist at Adhesive Research Incorporation, according to LinkedIn. Maybe it's not Herbert Hand. But then there's a picture of yes, Justin Herbert. Where did I get
Justin
Herbert
Herbert.
hand from?
They measure hand size at the combine. Maybe that's why. I don't... But
Wait,
anyways, this guy Justin
I'm
Herbert.
pretty sure this said Justin. I'm pretty sure this said Herbert hand earlier today.
Justin Herbert is 6'6", and I have heard of him. He's, you know, you never know with
Herbert
quarterbacks.
hand. Wow,
Yeah.
that's gonna go down in history. If only we had drops.
Dun 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 dun.
Okay, let's talk about the NBA. Yesterday you had the Last Dance, the final championship run with Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls, 97-98. I remember this era. Clearly, I was born in 1984, so I don't remember Michael Jordan's earlier years. I do recall the 90s run, the 1991 championship. I remember watching it against the Lakers. I don't remember really taking so much in. I can't remember any details or anything like that. But yeah, so there was a lot of things that I learned during this.
Same.
Had no idea that that the reason why this all ended is because it wasn't like Jordan decided, okay, I got my 6 rings, 2 3-peats, I'm walking away with my head held high, or Phil Jackson's contract ran out and he said, all right, I'm gonna try something else now. No, this all happened against their will, basically. I had no idea.
Me neither.
That completely slipped my mind.
I always thought that the main reason this, and again, I kind of, if I really dig deep into this brain here, Manny, I do recall seeing MJ's Hall of Fame speech and him doing the most MJ thing ever. Now that I watch this, I understand why he did it at his Hall of Fame speech. But he said something on the line like, "Yeah, that's what I always try to tell so and so. The organization builds the teams, but the players got to go out and play." Like he said something along the lines like that. It sounded kind of like snobby, and like I was like, why would he say this at his Hall of Fame speech? And now I realize that his Bulls era ended because of that situation. Because of what they're presenting to us in the first 2 episodes. So I'm just thinking to myself, like, that I kind of could have I could have pieced all that together, because he was always mentioning like if Scotty comes back and all this stuff, like in those highlight videos. I recall seeing it, but I never dug deep enough to see like the stories behind it. And I learned the same thing that you did.
Yeah. For those of you watching, my video just froze. Am I frozen to you, CT, when you see
Yeah,
me?
you're frozen everywhere on YouTube, my screen.
Okay. At least I froze with a pretty neutral facial expression.
I think that if you click something on Skype and click out of it, it'll come back. If you try that, just like click like the comment section or something. I don't know.
On Skype?
Yeah. Give that a whirl.
No, didn't work. It's okay. At least I'm not picking my nose or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you look good. You look good.
I mean, I don't want to say I look good, but it's decent. Something else that I learned: the Scottie Pippen extension, and how he handled that whole situation. I read from the Hard Knicks Life tweet that at the time that he got the extension, it was a pretty good deal. I think it was ranked in the top 10, top 15, something like that. But by the middle of that extension, toward the end of it, it was a pretty horrible deal for Scottie Pippen. At the same time, I'm not sure I liked the way that he handled it, and that was kind of surprising to me. I remember him not playing at the start of that season, but I had no idea that it was through his own will, that he could have done something about this before having to miss time during the regular season. And I don't blame Michael Jordan if he's pissed off at him for that, or the rest of his team. I thought that was handled poorly. You signed the deal. You have to play. You know what I mean? Jerry Krause sucks because he took advantage of you. He won't pay. He wouldn't give you your raise or whatever. That's on Jerry Krause. But on your end, you put your name on the dotted line. And in this country and in the world, if you do that, you're responsible. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think Phil Jackson said it pretty good. Like Phil Jackson admitted that he could have done something in the offseason, or I don't forget what the whole thing was, but that Scotty did it to put pressure on the front office and everything. But then he also said that we aren't these players, and that's what Scotty had to do to kind of make it, to justify that he at least tried to do something or prove to them that he was worth it. and I'm not mad at Michael Jordan, but yeah, I didn't like the way that it was handled by Scottie Pippen because, like you said, he signed the contract. Um, and it's funny hearing it from like Michael Jordan's perspective because when you see the team losing in their last dance season, as like Phil Jackson put it, when a player holds out, you're really just like you're hurting the whole team, not just like you're not just sticking it to the organization, but you're hurting the whole team, especially in a sport like basketball where you make such a big difference. And I didn't know that contract was like top 15 at the time, the extension.
Mm-hmm.
If it was, then I don't understand what's to be upset about. I mean, if the owner of the team recommended that you don't sign that contract at the time and you did anyways, players do that all the time. Like players in the MLB recently sign extensions like Ozzy Albies. Like he signed an extension that I think he's worth way more, but some guys will take the risk and bet on themselves and other guys don't. And Scotty just was one of those guys that didn't. Period. Like you signed the contract. It's not fair, but it actually is fair. It's not. It doesn't side with like the fairy tale version of the NBA or professional sports, but it's fair in the end.
It's not fair that Scottie Pippen was, aside from Michael Jordan, arguably the best player in the NBA, and that he happened to sign that contract right before the NBA took off. Because I don't know if one thing that I noticed during the show, and now I'm officially gone, so now you see is the Skype S there, so Skype is getting some free advertisement there. Pay us, Skype. But the point that I'm trying to make is, did you see what the locker rooms look like earlier in their careers in the Chicago Bulls locker rooms? It looked like a closet, literally
like a high school
closet.
High school.
Yeah, like a high school, even worse than a high school locker room. So the point that I'm trying to make is that was the state of the NBA at that time. And by the time the second episode ended and you saw the locker room for the Chicago Bulls, it was a completely different environment. Like you could see that there was an influx of money coming through. Everything looked different. And Scottie Pippen just happened to sign that contract at the wrong time. But like you said, Reinsdorf gave him the out. He said, if I were you, I wouldn't sign this deal. And Scottie Pippen decided he was going to do it anyway. And I don't begrudge Scottie Pippen for doing it either, because he was looking out for the betterment of his family, he was looking out for himself. He was thinking, I'm never going to come across this amount of money in my life probably ever again. And I come from nothing. I'm very poor. So why not just take what I can get at this point? So I don't know. I blame. It kind of sucks the way he handled the situation, but at the same time, I understand why he signed the contract in the first place.
Yeah, and good on you bringing up the locker room comparison from Jordan's like rookie season to like that '98 season. Can we just officially say this has nothing to do with like skills or whatever? But can we just officially put an end to the LeBron and Jordan comparisons?
I don't know, man. I think it's.
I don't think you can compare them, man, because
you can't compare them because they're different eras. I think LeBron isn't as physical of a player as Jordan was, and probably couldn't handle guys like Charles Oakley breathing down your neck, pushing you, elbowing you, stuff like that. It's a different game. But I don't. At the same time, I don't know if Jordan would stand out so much. I'm not saying that he's not good. I'm not saying that he's not the greatest of all time. I think he is the greatest of all time. But with the level of athleticism that we're seeing in the game today, I don't know if he would stand out as much in today's game as he did back in the late 80s and the 90s.
Yeah, but why wouldn't I see? Okay, I don't want to get into the physicality. Physicality is one thing. They played a lot more physical back in Jordan's day. I get it. That's not what I'm talking about. And in terms of him not being athletic enough, I think he's
super athletic,
just as athletic, if not more, because the dunks that he did in the dunk contest are not dunks that Dwight Howard could do. So not only is Jordan physically athletic, but he's able to move his body because he's 6'6". It's only fair that a guy like Jordan can move better than a guy like Dwight Howard. I get it, whatever. I think LeBron would have fit in any era. I think he's gonna go down as the greatest like basketball player of all time, whatever, because he's gonna have all the stats. But I was just sitting there watching Jordan yesterday, and I thought to myself, like, is it really about stats? Because Jordan is not the number one in any category that basketball tracks. Kobe's ahead of him in points. Kobe's ahead of him in assists as a shooting guard. LeBron's ahead of him in I think points. I think he's ahead of him in points at this point.
I think so.
Assists, rebounds, and everything. And yet Jordan was considered the GOAT before he retired. Nowhere near the being number one in any category. So is it really about, because like what I think is happening today in this world is that we wake up the next day and we see LeBron record a triple double, and we're taking that for what it is at face value. Like that, LeBron put up a triple double, bam, he's greatest of all time. But then if you really watch a guy like LeBron James versus a guy like Russell Westbrook, who averages more triple doubles in his career, there's no comparison between those two guys. Yeah. Russell Westbrook is nowhere near a guy like LeBron James. And so when I take overall stats out of it, when I take out the point that LeBron is going to be number one in almost every relevant category by the time this is all said and done, which is why I think he's going to go down as the greatest, right? You can't compare their legacies. To me, Jordan dwarfs anything that can happen, because when he came into the league, the NBA was just not what it is today. And he's responsible for that. I think that fans are always going to love like dynasties. He made a dynasty with the Bulls. I think that's the reason why everybody gravitated towards Steph Curry and the Warriors a couple years ago, until Durant joined them, and now they became like a hated team and stuff like that. And I think since Jordan is at the center of all that, is why I think you can't compare him or compare LeBron to him, vice versa. Give LeBron credit for coming into the league and basically like topping Kobe, right?
Yeah.
We thought Kobe was like this mystical figure, which he was, but I think LeBron surpassed him in that sense. But there's something about Jordan, perfect storm, the 90s. You know, Scottie Pippen signed the deal, so he had a Hall of Famer stay on his roster for his prime years because he was getting paid so little under contract, whatever. I think it's the perfect storm. We might never see it again. But I think I can just say finally, after watching just those first two episodes, that LeBron just isn't it. Today, he's not it. His career's not over, but he hasn't been the second coming of Jordan.
I think it's one of those things where it's like comparing Barry Bonds to Babe Ruth. I think it's almost impossible. You can't do it because the game is different. There's, it's just a completely different game. I think it's just a completely different game. In the late 80s, early 90s, it was a rough game. It was a very physical game, and today's game isn't that. So I guess edge Michael Jordan, because he's gonna have a bigger advantage that he doesn't have players pushing him around, elbowing him, all that stuff. But at the same time, if you just put a side-by-side picture of Michael Jordan and someone like LeBron James, since we're comparing them to, and you could their physical build is completely different. Michael Jordan was a pretty puny, skinny, and again, I'm not taking anything away from MJ. Watching that show, I tweeted it yesterday. I'm one of those salty Knicks fans. That was my tweet. I'm one of those salty Knicks fans that hates Michael Jordan because he prevented my team from getting a championship. At the same time, I acknowledge that he is the greatest of all time. If we're going to crown that to somebody, it has to be Michael Jordan. But I think we'd be foolish if we didn't. We'd be foolish to like really not put LeBron James in that conversation.
No,
because it is a different game, and yeah, I don't know, man.
What I'm saying is, you physically, like how much they weigh, how tall they are, how fast they are. LeBron is the perfect. Here's an example for. I'll say it like this. Yesterday, he was across seas in France, I think, and the guy said the closest thing to God on earth or something like that. Nobody would say that about LeBron today. Mm-hmm. Nobody would let him get away with that, I think. But for Jordan,
at the same time, that's another difference about the eras, is that people are looking for a reason to tear you down nowadays with Twitter and Instagram and social media. Jordan didn't have that. If anything, all he got was praise across the board. I didn't hear the story about him punching Steve Kerr in the face until after his retirement.
Jordan,
For the most part, he was at the time he was like a god figure, and he should be. He's the greatest basketball player of all time.
I think that the three-peat made him like the Jordan that we all view as like this untouchable figure. The first three-peat, I think, might have been that, but Jordan definitely got his fair share of criticism because he was a ball hog early in his career. He kind of had to be, right? Whatever. But that's not even it's not even the case of how people try to tear down LeBron today or not. But just the way that I see it, he was the focal point of a dynasty, and he made one sports team bigger than the biggest sports team, the Cowboys probably at the time in the 90s. It was all Bulls, all Jordan. Took a franchise that nobody even cared about and made them the gold standard, right?
For sure.
Not once did I think the Cavs, even when they won the championship, not once did I think the Cavs were like this. How do I compare it? Like when you watch a movie and you just see the team to beat, not once did I ever think the Cavs were that team. And I know that's not super fair to LeBron because he didn't have the supporting cast and everything. But that's what I'm saying. It's the perfect storm for Jordan. And because right place, right time, right decade, right management, shoe deals, dunk contest, 6 for 6 in the championships, retired twice, played baseball, dropped Space Jam, started the shoe deals, like all that stuff rolled into one ball. That I don't see anyone overcoming that. And I think we can see someone. The reason why I don't think it's LeBron is because to me, Steph Curry was the closest thing we got to like a Jordan. He completely changed the game because you can see in the first episode, and this is such a long drag on that I'm sorry. Okay. Just cut my mic off when you're ready. But when they drafted Jordan, his own teammates were saying like he has to realize you're not going to change a franchise around. You aren't that big. You're only 6'6". The NBA is all about tall guys, centers. Look at the Celtics team that he played in the playoffs. They were all bigger than his teammates and stuff. So Jordan completely changed the game around. He put basketball on the map. He made the Bulls the most popular team in the world, not just America. Brought in the golden age in terms of like revenue, I guess, into the NBA. And to me, you look at Steph Curry, he changed the game of basketball. He was Mr. Popular. He was the focal point of a dynasty, which LeBron wasn't. I think Steph Curry has more of a Jordan career, or was on path to have a Jordan career. I don't know what it's going to end like, than LeBron James did. And in my brain, I'm at peace just thinking to myself, like, I can finally say LeBron isn't Jordan for me.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying, man. I wish I could see your camera right now, but
I got to tell you, man, it's liberating not being there, man. I'm making all kinds of faces at you right now.
You're flipping me off? Is that what you're doing?
No. The other thing that I wanted to point out is when people talk about players this era versus the last era, how players this era are friendlier with each other, how they're all this BS. Let's put it to bed after you saw yesterday Jordan and Danny Ainge playing golf after game 1 and before game 2. And Danny Ainge saying that Jordan losing to him in golf was what made him go off in game 2 of that playoff game. That shit has always existed and it's always going to exist. It happened with the 2004 Red Sox and the Yankees. Apparently, that movie with Jimmy Fallon, what's that movie called?
Fever Pitch,
where they show the players are like having lunch together and shit, and he's like upset, like I thought they were enemies. These players aren't enemies, man. At the end of the day, on the field they hate each other's guts. Off the field, everybody's on the same boat. So let's put that to bed, please. That's all I wanted to say.
I don't really care for that argument. I mean, I never like went to bed thinking like, man, Manny Ramirez and A-Rod must fucking hate each other, man. Like, I love it.
You see them pound it out, you're like, fuck, man, they like each other. Why?
Nobody likes A-Rod, man. It's a shame.
I just dropped an F-bomb again.
Yeah, man. I'm really looking forward to the rest of The Last Dance. If I had to just give one criticism is the flashbacks kind of like they kind of remind me of like cutaways to commercials kind of.
Mm-hmm. The
Like,
vault when they did the vault.
yeah, like is the last season not enough for us to make a series out of? Do we have to go back and relive like Jordan not, being left out of his varsity team and stuff? Like, I thought this was about like the last dance, not about like, even though I like that they go back into Scottie Pippen's timeline and all that stuff. I like
It's a
all that stuff.
it's a 10-part docuseries, man.
Yeah, it's gonna.
They gotta fill some time. What was I gonna say? The commercials. There was one commercial that you beat me to the punch on Twitter. The Kenny Mayne one. I
Amazing.
I fell for it. I only caught it like toward the end where I was like, oh shit, they just did a voiceover here. Like I
Yeah.
thought, oh my god, did he really predict this shit?
Sta- I I just have to say, State Farm killed it with that commercial. Uh, I tweeted the word State Farm out for free, so that's why these commercials are a big business, because I just gave them free advertisement through my
Word.
Twitter, and
Yep.
we're talking about it here today on our podcast, which is worldwide at this point. Just
Yeah, truth, man.
it's on all platforms.
Word.
Leave us a 5-star rating if you're listening, and subscribe and tell your friends. We love you. Uh, But shout out to the NBA, man. As much as I criticize the NBA for all the extra drama that I don't care about, like what LeBron ate for breakfast that morning, and if Kevin Durant is still friends with this guy, as much as they advertise that stuff and ESPN is on their balls and Bleacher Report and all that stuff, like as much as I hate that world, I got to give it up to the NBA because they currently have the best product in terms of their players are regarded as superstars
Mm-hmm.
across the board. And you don't really hear a lot of like domestic violence cases, steroid use. You don't hear a lot of that stuff.
No.
And they're able to drop this and capitalize on a market that's dead at this point because of the coronavirus. So it's like, I got to give credit to whoever orchestrated this whole thing for being like what everybody's going to be watching until beyond the time this is over. We don't know the timetable is, but I got to give it up to the NBA, man.
Perfect timing, man. They had this on the docket to be released later in the year. They decided to move it up, and that was perfect. I
Yeah.
mean, so what I wanted to ask you was this. So I just switched to the wrong screen. Doesn't matter. What other players would you be interested in seeing a 10-part docuseries about?
Ooh. Uh, Allen Iverson
That would be interesting, yeah.
would
And you
be
could
interesting.
go to other sports if you need to.
Yeah, I was just about to A-Rod, of course. I
Oh
think
my
A-Rod
God. You could do a
super
20
interesting.
part series on A-Rod. His career was
Yeah.
so freaking up, like insane.
I just, you know what? If I saw an A-Rod thing, I don't want to see him give his 2 cents. I want to hear from other people's
Me too.
perspectives, period. I don't want to hear A-Rod having to explain himself. He's butchered that so many times in his career. I can tell when he's lying to us and all that
And
stuff.
and the last time he spoke for himself, which was after that year-long suspension, ESPN released this long-form piece with him in it. I thought that was perfect. And you don't need to. That's it. You're good. Like you
Yeah.
don't have to go any further than that. Like I was off of the A-Rod bandwagon. That whole biogenesis shit really turned me off to him. And reading that piece, he won me back. And let's just keep it that way.
And I would love to watch a tell all secrets top to bottom. Make it a 50-part series if you have to. Make it 8 seasons. The Patriots from the beginning of Tom Brady's career till well after he retired.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure there's some in the works already. All this film that's being collected. I will definitely watch that all the way through because
I want a Barry Bonds. I put that on our Instagram earlier today. I would like to see a Barry Bonds 10-part docuseries. I want to see first off, he's the son of an MLB player, so coming
yeah.
up in the MLB, in the clubhouses and all that stuff. His godfather's Willie Mays or something like that. To the point where he broke into the scene, became a superstar with the Pittsburgh Pirates, was traded, or maybe he signed with the San Francisco Giants. I don't remember what happened there. But even him experiencing what he went through when he saw Sosa and McGuire, the home run chase that made him feel like he was an underappreciated MLB star, all the way to him taking steroids and so on and so forth. I think that would be super interesting. And Jose Canseco, just because he's such a fucking strange character, man. Like we're here in the COVID in the virus, the COVID-19 quarantine, and he's on Twitter talking about Bigfoot. Like this guy's
Let,
nuts.
let's see what he's been tweeting out real quick. Same thing with the A-Rod thing. If they ever made one of Jose Canseco, I would just prefer him to not be in it. He looks like he's pinned the tweet. J-Lo, I have something to show you for your eyes only. Contact Morgan at 702, blah, 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 blah. So that's he's pinned that tweet at this point. And Mike Greenwell said he should have won the MVP in 1988 since I used PDs. He was the runner-up. Maybe he's right. But do you guys think? That's how it ends. Do you guys think?
Okay.
All right,
Jose.
Okay, Jose. I'll watch a Tyson one.
Oh yeah, that would be really good. Iron Mike, the GOAT.
Do you have a feeling that the Jordan thing that's happening, do you think they should have left Bill Clinton and Obama out of it? Like, did we really need politics in our? They're not talking about politics. I know they were people that lived through it, but are there not enough people on this planet that they could have gotten insight from that didn't have to be like two political figures?
Yeah, with Clinton, it was the whole Arkansas connection with Scottie Pippen, and with Obama, which I thought was funny, they didn't write President of the United States. They wrote former resident of Chicago or something, like in 1989.
I didn't catch that.
Yeah, but I could have done without it. I don't know what input they really had into it. It was just a big face.
Exactly.
I was kind of surprised to see it.
It's like I loved seeing wow, man, this guy drawing a blank. Kevin Costas.
Oh, Bob Costas.
Costas.
He's the GOAT.
I love seeing him in like his like blonde hair back in the day.
Oh my God.
But these guys that covered the players, I like seeing them. Even if they annoy me, I like seeing them giving their input, especially if they're from the Chicago area or whatever. And it makes sense to me. But when I see like, and I know Obama was from Chicago, but he only said like something like, yeah, Jordan was great or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, you couldn't get somebody else to do that. Like, maybe
a fan.
Maybe like the biggest super fan the Bulls ever had. I don't know. You know?
Yeah. No, I'm with you, man. I'm with you on that. I was trying to inject politics into shit. Damn.
I'm Obama or Jordan was great.
Yes. What did Clinton say? I did not have sexual relations with that woman. I was not having an affair with on Hillary at that time.
Oh my God.
I think there's a good time to probably
90s were a great time, guys. The 90s were a great time. I think the 90s would have given as much social media weight as the 2000s did, as the 2010s did. The 90s.
The 90s, the music was the best. The TV shows, well, TV's king right now, but the sitcoms. I'm gonna crown the 90s the king of the sitcoms. Or queen, you know. I don't know. I don't want to offend anybody out there. Yeah, the 90s were the best, man. I started listening, so I'm kind of the podcast. I'm listening to too many podcasts, and now I'm starting to get back into music again. And aside from the fact that Dominicans, me included, my Spanish music repertoire is the same shit as I've been listening to since the 90s. I decided to jump into music again recently, and I'm listening to 90s hip hop, and there's nothing better, man. I listen. I know the Big Pun album probably came out in the early 2000s, maybe late 90s, but Capital Punishment, that Big Pun album was, oh my God, man. I had that shit on a loop while I was mowing my lawn the other day. Such a good album. And the Wu-Tang Clan, the 13 Chambers, also amazing album.
You know,
gotta love music.
I don't want to get into a whole thing because I know we're trying to wrap this up. And frankly, my ass hurts from sitting on this chair. I forgot to get a pillow. But I'm just gonna say that I think there's something about the way that music was recorded and mixed back in the day or in any decade, because it just seems like the 90s. I'm just gonna speak for hip hop. Just had a sound to it that even if you went and tried to recreate it today, it just wouldn't sound the same. No. So I think there's something about mixing down the music and what you use to record it that gave that music like its own flavor or whatever.
For sure.
And that goes for all music, even bachata music. Like 90s bachata just sounds different than if someone tried to recreate a similar type of song today, right? So I think
Hmm.
there's something about that, but I will say this: I think you should give a chance to today's music because I used to think the same thing, and I no longer think that just '90s is better. I just think it's different, and there's like a mood for it. There's like a time to listen to it, but there's a lot of good music today, man. And you should try to give it. You should give it a chance.
You know what it is? It's the I'm missing variety. And in the 90s, you could listen to a Wu-Tang album and it sounded completely different than a Biggie Smalls album, and that sounded completely different than a Cypress Hill album,
You're
and
right.
that sounded completely different than a Tribe Called Quest. Now, you listen to hip hop and the only the only variance, for lack of a better term, that you get is when an old school hip hop artist releases an album. That's the only thing that sounds different now.
You're right.
Everything else sounds the same to me, but that's just my opinion. And there are some songs I couldn't name them. I couldn't name you any artists probably right now of today that I do enjoy, but I think I enjoy it mostly for the beats,
Yeah.
not so much for the lyrics.
Yeah,
And
it's where the music has headed towards. Yeah.
and I felt like albums back then were more concept. That they had there was like a story behind it. The beats were good, but so were the lyric. Everything flowed really well.
There was better production. Yeah.
Way better production value. But I think this the point that I was trying to make is there was a time where I wouldn't listen to like mainstream artists. I don't know why. I think everybody goes through this. We're like, oh, that guy's mainstream. Everybody likes him. I like this guy who's more, you know, whatever, obscure. Nobody knows about this guy. This is my guy. I know him. I discovered this guy, right? I feel like that's kind of lame. Thinking that way is lame. I agree, but I feel
Yeah.
like hip hop is mainstream now, and I think that when things become mainstream, when things become corporatized, for lack of a better term, there's a formula, and everybody follows that formula because that's what works and that's what's successful. Whereas back in the day, it was more experimental. They were trying new things. You were, you were getting a story that was realistic and you could relate to. Today is not so much that. I feel like it's formulaic. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like I don't think Tribe Called Quest would make it. Their music would make it, but like if they try to bring their concept of like jazz and all that stuff into today, it
Yeah,
probably wouldn't make it.
yeah, yeah.
Those
Agreed.
songs would make it, but like if they tried to re drop an album today, it wouldn't. They wouldn't be as popular as they were back then.
Do you think Wu Tang would the whole ninja Shaolin like all that stuff concept?
I think it would just because it
and
has its like cult following. Like
and
if
their
they
beats were so rugged and like they
yeah,
almost sounded cheap, like they were made in a garage or something. But it was so good.
I want to just take two steps back and just rephrase what I said. Midnight Marauders, like those albums, Low End Theory, all those things, they would make it today.
Hmm.
But if you now take that same Tribe Called Quest group after they dropped those albums, and now they're trying to drop an album, which they did drop an album not too long ago. I didn't hear it, and I'm assuming it didn't do too well because I haven't heard too much about it. But if in 2020 those same artists got together, rest in peace, Five Dog, and they tried to create like today's version of it, it probably wouldn't make it in the mainstream hip hop because
Yeah.
mainstream hip hop is more about you know
It would be on like the realm of Talib Kweli, Black Thought, guys like that who
yeah.
never really broke through.
Yeah, exactly. They damn, man, I don't know about that though, because they're just different. I wouldn't even compare that. I put Tribe Called Quest in its own category. Their music, it's like their own thing.
No, for
Um,
sure.
yeah,
I guess
yeah,
what I'm trying to say is like everybody knows who Talib Kweli is, but you barely listen to his songs unless if it's a very mainstream song play on the radio. And
it's
someone like
because he,
and someone like
yeah,
Black Thought too. Like I
those
listened to
guys
that
didn't
Big Pun
make.
album and he was featured in one of the songs. I'm like, God damn, like this guy's been around for a long time.
That's what I think. That's why I think that like Tribe Called. Wow, how did we get on to
I have no
this?
idea, man.
I think Tribe Called Quest made music for everyone to like. So I think those songs that they put out would still be relevant today if
Yeah,
they
yeah.
dropped today. Is all I'm trying to say.
Okay.
And but if they built on that, if they tried to drop like if they tried to jump on a remix of Cardi B, it just wouldn't make it. If Cardi B tried
Yeah,
to
I don't
drop
even know if I can see that.
exactly, I think that's what I'm trying to say.
Uh,
Because in the end, okay, what I should have said in the beginning was Tribe Called Quest was mainstream, along with Biggie Smalls, along with all these other artists in the '90s. You had mainstream Tribe, mainstream, you know, Wu-Tang, mainstream mafioso, all this shit. Man, I really wish you had your camera out.
I'm picturing Pitbull in a Tribe Called Quest song. Mr. 4, Mr. 305.
Oh man, I'm just gonna shut up.
Microphone check 1 2. What is this? All right. All right, let's sign off, man. Follow us at WT The Show. Our website hasn't been updated in a while, but if you want to go check out some of that content, it's at WTTSpod.com. Not at, sorry, www.WTTSpod.com. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter. You can see it in the bottom right corner of your screen at WT The Show. Follow CT on Twitter at Hovamojo, me at Manigo3. That's all we got for today. See you tomorrow for episode 5 of Quick Hit. Peace out, everybody.